The Roper Center Transparency Project is an effort to encourage data providers to increase disclosure with their submissions of data to the Roper Center Archive. In our first video, we reviewed the core items, which are strongly encouraged for every data submission. In part 2 of our overview of this initiative, we are going to look at the additional disclosure items provided with some data sets. Although these items are not required for any data provider, Roper Center always encourages data providers to include as many of these items as possible. Data sets that include the additional information requested will get higher transparency scores. The first pair of disclosure items speaks to the complexity of polling research. Many field organizations that conduct polls purchase their samples from a different organization. These samples include voter list files or cell phone samples. If more than one list was used, we want to know what proportion of the total sample was provided by each organization. The next item is mode dependent. It's only applicable to online polls. Routers and chains are two ways of recruiting and screening potential participants in a survey. Routers screen respondents and direct them to surveys for which they are qualified, while chains direct respondents to a survey at the end of a completed survey. The break-off rate is simple. How many people started the survey but did not complete it? That could be hanging up the phone or clicking away from a website. A high break-off rate can sometimes indicate that a survey was long, hard to answer, or include questions that made respondents uncomfortable. Non-coverage, that is, some people in the target universe having no chance of selection into the sample, is at issue with all polls. A random digit dial poll described as targeting a national adult population, for example, will generally not cover people living in nursing homes or prisons, or people with hearing or speech impediments who rely on assistive technology to communicate by phone, and people who do not speak the language in which the survey was fielded. Online non-probability panel polls share most of these issues, but also do not cover those who do not have internet access, and other methods may exclude different groups. Data providers are asked to report their estimate of non-coverage, and researchers are encouraged to consider how non-coverage may affect results. Incentives can increase participation in a poll. Online panel polls often offer points for each survey completed, which can then be used toward gift certificates or other items. But other surveys sometimes offer incentives as well, particularly if the target population can be hard to get to respond, like doctors. Quality control can take many forms. In a face-to-face survey, for example, supervisors might re-interview a small number of participants to verify the accuracy of a field interviewer's work. Online polling organizations can systematically check for issues like speeding, that is, a respondent rushing through a survey too quickly to give meaningful responses, or straightlining, choosing the same response across a series of questions. Describing the measures taken for quality control counts as one disclosure item. Providing information on how many respondents were removed from the survey as a result of these measures is another. Transparency is not a guarantee of quality, but a high level of disclosure does give researchers the opportunity to make informed judgments about quality and fit for purpose of surveys in the Roper collection.